Hey everyone, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Pokemon Gold with Teddy Ursa was reasonably easy. Let's follow that up with an interesting turn on our last Fallout challenge. Today's the day that we figure out, would I be able to beat Fallout 3 using only melee weapons with no melee skill? I had a blast with the previous Fallout 3 run, but I'm expecting this one to be much harder. This is basically the previous challenge run, but while using weapons that force me to get up close and personal with whoever we're fighting. No more hiding around corners and taking things out with a Fat Man nuke. We're going to be getting up close and personal with a lot of super mutants while dealing very little damage. Like always, I'm writing this script as I go through with the challenge, so this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if I can win or not. I think I can beat it, but this is easily gonna be twice as hard as the last run. Let's explain the rules. In combat, I can only use melee weapons that we have 0 skill for. If a stat raises that makes our melee skill go up, we'll just use a console command to lower it to 0 again. Lastly, only cosmetic mods are allowed. I'm not allowing the use of any mods that affect gameplay, although personally I just don't have any mods installed right now. Also, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. So let's start with character creation. I'm sure no one wants to see me do the tutorial every single time, so let's just make our character at the exit of the vault, since the game gives you the option to do that. For stats, you'd think that I'd want strength, but according to the wiki, it's not actually going to make my attacks do that much more damage. That's because my melee skill is also 0. Because of that, I max out agility instead, so we can do more attacks in less time through VATS to hopefully stay healthy. I can also bring my luck up a bit for better critical hit chance, and also a bit of endurance for health. I mostly dropped my charisma and perception to do all of this. Our intelligence is going to be a little low though, so don't expect too many skill points. For tag skills, I went with the repair to keep our weapons fixed, medicine so that we heal more per stim pack since we're probably going to get hit a lot, and lastly speech because I couldn't find a third skill that I actually needed, so I figured there's no harm in having a little bit more speech. Naturally, once we get outside, I use the console command to drop our melee skill down to 0. I actually also dropped my unarmed skill as well, just in case. I figured there could be some weird melee weapon in the game that uses unarmed, so I may as well play it safe and have both of them at 0. Still, we're not going to use any unarmed intentionally, even if it's technically melee. Now, we already know that we have to find our dad, and from the last challenge run, we know he's at Tranquility Lane. We could walk straight there, and I'd probably be fine, but I decided to walk to Megaton instead to resupply. In Craterside Supply, we made some easy money by just selling the starting guns and ammo since we won't be using them. Unfortunately, she mostly sells some real garbage, so all we bought was a run-down switchblade. She also gave us an armored vault suit, so that's something. Oh, and by the way, if we're ever given armor that gives us melee skill, I can just use the console command to drop our skill to 0 again, so don't go worrying about that. Now, I want to go straight to Tranquility Lane, but I know that right after I'll have to fight my way to Rivet City and clear out some super mutants, so I'd better hunt for a better melee weapon. In Jericho's house in Megaton, I found a Chinese officer sword. It's actually a pretty bad weapon for VATS since it uses too much AP to swing, but it's still overall a very high DPS weapon outside of VATS. After that, I used the money I made selling my gun and ammo to Moira by having her repair our new sword and switchblade. She only seems to bring them to about 50 condition, but I'll take what I can get. With that done, I set off to get to Tranquility Lane. If I remember right, we'll actually have some unique dialogue for finding our father without following any of the steps, so that should be fun. And to make this extra hard, by the way, I'm doing this blind. I remember roughly where Tranquility Lane was, so as an added challenge, I'm not going to look up the exact location. We've got to just find it. Along the way, we finally got some chances to try out our new sword. We're only level 2, so most of the enemies we ran into were bloatflies, dogs, and mole rats, but they do wear down on you. Our VATS attacks really aren't that great unless we crit, but we can swing really fast outside of VATS, so the damage is enough to handle ourselves. I'm worried about how much damage we'd take in a gunfight, though. Once we reached where I put my marker, though, it looks like my guess was wrong. I remember Tranquility Lane is in a car repair shop. Maybe it was south of here? As I get on the hill to the south, though, I see it overlooks a massive camp. I think those are mercenaries, and I see one dude with some kind of rocket launcher. Yeah, I'm not getting involved in that. I'll head north. Not long later, we run into some rundown settlement of ghoul wastelanders who attack on sight. Some of them have guns, but they're all really weak and go down fast with our sword. We got a few weak melee weapons here, but more importantly, we got lots of guns and ammo that we can sell. Maybe this will net us some new equipment once we get to Rivet City. I tried to keep going north, but just ran into this outdoor gas station. This still doesn't feel right. Am I in the totally wrong place? Okay, I know it's not farther north than this, so I'm gonna keep going south. I know it's along one of these roads somewhere. As I headed south, I saw some Brotherhood outcasts fighting with some local mercenaries. I saw a low-health Brotherhood outcast running around with a Ripper, so I followed him until he got taken out, then grabbed the Ripper and ran. Now this is a real melee weapon. This is like a chainsaw sword. You know, totally taken out of Warhammer 40k. About a minute of running later and we got to try it out on some raiders that attacked us. It's a little unreliable normally, but the VATS attack is crazy. I can't wait to get this thing repaired to see what kind of damage it can do. After heading just a little bit farther south, we finally found the garage, but outside was a Mr. Gutsy with a plasma rifle and a flamer. I pulled out the Ripper and... yeah, I think I'll just use the sword. It only took about a minute or so of circling him with the sword before he went down and we got some ammo to sell. After that, I cleared out the mole rats in the garage, and it's time to get in the Tranquility Lounger yet again. Naturally, since I want good karma to get Fawkes at the end of the game, I just instantly activated the failsafe and left without even speaking to Braun. He must be so confused about the guy who showed up, knew the password to use the failsafe, punched it in, and then just left without talking to anybody. Our dad talks to us a bit, but it doesn't really have any interesting changes in the dialogue. I was hoping for something fun about us just bumping into each other, but no luck. Oh well, I guess we just go to Rivet City now. Oh, and we leveled up twice for this. I just dumped most of the skill into speech and repair and spent both of my perks on raising our strength. Then I used the console command to make sure that our melee skill is still 0. If I ever don't bring up what I got on a level up, it was probably just more intense training perks to raise my strength or endurance. Anyway, we need to get to Rivet City, and that's halfway across the map from our nearest fast travel point, so I make sure to sell our loot and pay for repairs at Moira's place. The Ripper should be pretty strong now. So, when looking at our map, it looks like it shows us both where Rivet City is and where our dad is. He's in some random place to the south that I don't think I've ever been to before, so I decided I'd go meet up with him and just see what the path is he takes out of interest since I've never done that before. On my way, I fought a bunch of raiders, but they didn't really stand a chance. They have weak weapons and terrible armor, so I made really short work of them. Following our dad ended up being a bit of a bad idea. As interesting as it is to see his path, my god does he ever lead us through a lot of danger. Every time he sees an enemy camp, he just wants to charge in. He led us through raiders, turrets, dumb super mutants, really dumb super mutants. When I say that he led us through super mutants, by the way, I don't just mean once. I mean this happened over and over. They weren't that bad mostly because they paid attention to him, not me, but we did have to blow through some stim packs a few times. I mean, look at this. He sees a super mutant in his fort shooting at us with a minigun, and he decides to just charge. In the end, we managed to save someone, so that was cool, but really this was a waste of our time. One interesting thing is that he actually led us right by Jefferson Memorial, so we ended up clearing out the outside of the building early. Also, did you know that if we get to Rivet City with your dad, the drawbridge is already there? Also, the dialogue with the front guard doesn't really make sense anymore.
Is there a problem?
Anyway, while I'm in Rivet City, I make sure to sell my mountain of guns and ammo, and use the caps I got from it to stock up on stim packs, new armor, and I even paid for the repairs on a bunch of my stuff since it got worn out fighting super mutants. Speaking of, next step is to clear out the inside of Jefferson Memorial. The inside of this place ends up being mostly pretty easy, believe it or not. Almost every fight we were able to take on one-on-one, and the Ripper VATS attack can be really strong sometimes. Although other times it does no damage, it's a little bit unreliable. Anyway, just switching between that and the Chinese sword did the trick. Seems like the Ripper is good for VATS attacks, the Chinese sword is good for non-VATS attacks. The basement was much harder because of the super mutant brutes, and the tight quarters means they can gang up on us, but thankfully our medicine skill is good enough that we have enough healing items to make it through. I also need to repair my Ripper health again though, since it seems like these store-bought repairs only bring it up to 50% condition. Now that we got the place cleared out, I repaired my stuff and got ready for when the Enclave jumps the place. It turns out that the Enclave goons aren't really that bad to fight as long as you're one-on-one and you're up close. The Ripper does a great job of crippling their arms so that they drop their guns. Back up at the control center, and it's the scene where Colonel Mustard is shaking down our dad. I love how Pops will run into a super mutant fortress armed with a tire iron, but he won't even attempt to fight off these Enclave goons with his mini gun that you can see that he's holding. Hey, want to see a cool trick? If you hold F and wiggle your mouse around, you can interact with people through this wall in ways they never intended, and funny stuff happens. You can even loot them and get totally unique gear. Check it out. We even got the minigun from Dad. That'll be great to sell for our repair money. This little clipping trick is super easy to do, by the way. Try it the next time you play the game. Now I look like one tough customer. Hell yeah. Anyway, the tunnels ended up being super easy. No real fight in here, mostly just super weak ghouls. Once again, no tense standoff at the door or anything. I'm just starting to wonder if this area just never plays quite as intended. Oh, and the dork who always complains about his heart got another 5 stim packs out of me. I swear, one of these runs, I'm just gonna take him out myself. That dude's hogging all the healing items. And hey, look! When we get to the Brotherhood, the cutscene actually plays out how it was probably intended. Miracles do happen. Anyway, they send us off to Little Lamplight, and we already have fast travel points that are pretty close to there, so it doesn't really take long at all. I did fight a few super mutants though. I gotta say, all this melee practice has gotten me pretty good at the one-on-one melee fights. I'm getting used to how the super mutants swing their sledgehammers and how to dodge them. Guns are still a bit of a problem, though. Be real careful in Little Lamplight, by the way. Always have a backup save right before here, because it's super easy to soft lock the game. Sometimes you do the dialogue the wrong way, and it just seems to never open up the door to the vault. It's insane. Naturally, in Murder Pass, we just ran most of the way through like last time. I did have a big battle with a brute at the end, but I wore out my sword a lot, and we're not gonna have a chance to repair this for a long while, so I made sure to pick up every sledgehammer any super mutant drops so that I have a renewable source of melee weapons for this part of the game. In Vault 87 is when things always get real nasty in these runs. Often we're fighting 3 guys at a time, and all we can really do to stay alive is hug corners where I can stay out of their line of fire, and then swarm them as they come around the corner, hoping to crit their arms enough so that they'll drop their guns. Our strength is 10 at this point, but we still barely do any damage, and the Ripper is pretty much useless at this point outside of its powerful VATS attack. But even with 10 agility, we only have the action points to use the VATS attack once before recharging. It's a good thing that we came in with 15 stim packs and super high medicine skill, because these guys really put the beat down on us. I kinda regret not taking the damage resistance perk when I had the chance, but I figured the extra strength was more important. We do so little damage per swing that we need every last bit we can get. Finally, once we get to the part where we can unlock Fawkes, I just pull the fire alarm, run to him, and let him deal with things. This time, as he leads us to the Gek, I actually fought alongside him with a sledgehammer. Weirdly enough, it seems that no matter what, the enemies will attack him rather than me. I guess that's just to put over how strong Fawkes is. Oh, and on our way out, we got flashbanged again. I know, I wasn't even in the room when it happened. The game just makes you do this every time. Now that we've been taken to Raven Rock, the Enclave base, we need to fight our way to the President. I love that we could scare off the guards just by flexing at him. That's how I choose to interpret this interaction. I love how trigger-happy the soldiers are here, by the way. They didn't hear the last 2 words of the President's speech about leaving me alone yet, so one takes a shot at me for good measure.
Please do not impede his progress. Thank you for your cooperation.
These guys aren't bad at all by this point, though. No real challenge. I actually failed the speech check on the President this time, so he didn't blow himself up, although he still just hands the virus over and helps us leave. Oh, by the way, the people in the comments last time pointed out that the virus wouldn't just take out ghouls and super mutants, but most people who weren't born in a vault. Fair, I misremembered that. People say that I should have known that because it was talked about in Fallout 2, dialogue that seems to be non-mandatory. Hey, can you remember every last bit of dialogue from the fairies in Banjo-Kazooie? How about all the owl dialogue from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time that you definitely skipped? These games are all from 1998, and those 2 games were way less wordy than Fallout 2. Call me a little psych, guys. I'm a comedian, not a video game scholar. I've never claimed to be a pro at this stuff. Or smart. In fact, there's a meme in the community that I'm illiterate, so maybe just treat it that way. Anyway, the President helps us fight our way out like usual. We meet up with Fawkes, and it's time to finish up the end of the game. Back at the Brotherhood of Steel base, I don't tell them about the virus that President Eden gave us, and just told them off instead to see what would happen. They still make us an honorary member of their squad and give us power armor. even though we just told off the leader of their whole chapter, so that was hilarious. As the Brotherhood and I fight our way out to Jefferson Memorial to finish the game, I make the realization that if you hang back and use the wait command a bunch, you can actually get Liberty Prime to skip ahead. This saves us some time, but it does mean that he misses some of the Enclave goons. Thankfully, they're super easy at this point, and we still have a lot of backup from the Brotherhood. As we got to the monument, I introduced Colonel Mustard to my chainsaw as we cleared the room. This time I decided that I'm gonna be the one to punch in the password in the radioactive chamber, to be the real hero, after the game dunked on us so hard last time for having Fawkes do it. Which I'll remind you, by the way, Fawkes is immune to radiation. So I go in, pop a bunch of rad resistance pills because I'm not an idiot, then punch in the code. Wrong. So I guess I am an idiot. Second try and I remembered it correctly, winning us the run.
But it was not until the end of this long road that the lone wanderer learned the true meaning of that greatest of virtues, sacrifice. Stepping into the irradiated control chamber of Project Purity, the child followed the example of the father, sacrificing life itself for the greater good of mankind.
Listen to that. Doesn't that feel good? We finally have the narrator's approval. That was another really fun run. I was worried that it would be way too hard, but my wandering around netting me a ripper in the early game really helped out. I hope you guys liked that run. For next Saturday's challenge is back to Pokemon with a classic Pokemon Fire Red with only one Pikachu. As always, I'm looking at your suggestions in the comments, in the challenge request section of my Discord channel, and on Twitter. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. If you guys want to see me do more challenges like this, please let me know in the comments or on Twitter. I can always use more ideas from you guys on what I should do next. Also, check out the playlist in the description if you want to see all the challenges that I've already uploaded. Also, come to my Twitch TV streams and tell me that this video sent you. It's always cool to hear how you found the channel. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.